Hi, I'm Dustin Abbott. These days, our modern cameras are really hybrid pieces of equipment. Of course, they're not just about taking stills photography any longer. They're also very capable video bodies, capable of producing beautiful footage. You know, in the case of this Fuji X-T3 here, it can shoot 4K footage at 60 frames per second, which is something that was really unheard of just a few years ago. And so as a result of that, more and more photographers and videographers tend to not be two separate groups, but rather there is a merging of those groups together, and also a merging of what a photographer might expect to do on site. Many wedding photographers, for example, they will be doing some stills, they'll be doing some video, they might even be doing some aerial drone footage as a part of what they do. And so with an understanding that, you know, as ever, whether it's photography or video, it's all about the light. And sometimes it's about using the light that's there, but also it's about augmenting and creating the light that you need to get the perfect shot. And that's where good lighting comes into play. And so today I'm here to review a high-end light from the company Rotolight, and this is their AEOS light system. And so this is a light system that is really designed uniquely for that combination between both photography and stills. This is a light that is extremely portable. As you can see, it's got nice aluminum handles on it. And that reflects the fact that it can be both a continuous light, it can put off a significant amount of light, particularly when it is cranked up, as you can see. But also beyond that, it's capable of doubling as an actual flash or strobe, in that it can actually flash or strobe at 200% of its continuous light output. And so it can produce a significant amount of light for use as a flash unit as well. And of course, unlike most portable flash units, you also have the ability with this to have a nice big soft light source with a lot of individual LEDs that are a part of making it up. And I've got a filter on here right now. So I'll pull that off for a second, and so you can see the actual pattern of all of the LEDs that make up this actual light source. And so as a byproduct of that, you have the ability to create a much softer source of light, more flattering source of light. And on top of that too, of course, create a really nice catch light, some things that an ordinary strobe just can't do. And so today we're going to take a look both at some of the general purpose of what you can accomplish with this light, as well as the build and the design. So looking at the light itself, first of all, it actually runs off of the V-mount batteries. And so those of you that are into videography, you may already be familiar with these. You may actually already own one, which can be important because this battery source that I'm using is not actually included. It's a separate purchase for that. However, unlike some competing lights, it does come with the V-mount plate already attached, and so you don't have to purchase the plate itself. Of course, you also have the option of a variety of different power sources to come into this. You can use, DC, and then you can also see that you've got other ways to actually run power both in and out of this. But if you happen to have or purchase one of these V-mount batteries, this particular battery pack is a 95 watt-hour battery source, 14.8 volt. And as a byproduct of that, it can actually run the light for several hours. And so, enough to be extremely useful for a variety of different things. As you can see in the design, there are heat sinks all along, and so I've not seen any kind of issue with any kind of heat buildup. It dissipates heat really nicely, and of course the nature of LEDs is that they generate less light or less heat to begin with. As you can also see, we have got 1/4-inch threads at all 4 points of the compass, but included with the light itself is actually this ball head. And so it's a nice quality ball head. And so in this case, I've just mounted it. Obviously you could mount on, if you wanted to use like a tripod instead. I've actually mounted at the top of a light stand. But the nice thing with a ball head is that you of course can put the light in really limitless kinds of positions. And like other ball heads, it's also got the ability to rotate on axis like that. And so it makes it obviously extremely useful for that kind of thing. As I noted with the filter, and that helps to just diffuse the light a little bit, it actually comes with a filter pack of 4 different filters included with it, and then there are also additional filter packs that you can purchase. But this one comes with what they call a cosmetic peach, which is good for skin tones. It's got a white diffusion. It's got a half white diffusion, so it blocks less light. The full diffusion drops about a stop and a half worth of light, whereas the half only drops about 3/4 of a stop. And then finally, there is a magenta a filter that's included that can help you with like fluorescent or tungsten lighting. And so a nice thing there. And of course, there are additional packs, as noted, that you can purchase to elaborate on that. Also included are the different ways to actually power the light source itself. But where things really start to get interesting is when you begin to dive into some of the ways to build upon and expand upon the kit. For one thing, this is actually, it has got Elinchrom's built-in Skyport wireless information. And so you can actually remotely, if you have some kind of Elinchrom Skyport actual trigger, you can use it for flash. And so, for example, I have one here in a Sony mount for my E-mount cameras, and so I actually used it to shoot some of these portraits. I also used it when shooting some product shots for a review that I was doing on this backpack. Actually used it as a portable light source to hide in a certain spot and then remotely trigger. And so what I wanted is I was wanting the shot where I was, kind of like leaving the house, going out, with this backpack that I was doing a review on, and going out. However, it was an extremely bright day, and so I was walking into a very bright day. And so if I exposed for the dark area where I was, the lighting would have been terrible. What I did is I hid this, I triggered it remotely, and as a result, I was able to provide nice fill light that highlighted the product that I was trying to promote there, while also having a less blown out, more balanced type result. So that's just one example of what you can do. Obviously, for portraits, there's a variety of things that you can do here for portraits. And so there's actually, as a part of this light, there's a built-in menu system in the back. And so it allows you to access a lot of special effects. And so first of all, of course, you can control just the basic output and the color temperature. And the color temperature itself, you can run anywhere from 3150 Kelvin all the way up to 6300 Kelvin. And so going from a very warm light source up to a cooler, beyond daylight temperature type coolness. And so it gives you control over that. And of course, this light is professionally color calibrated, so the color is accurate. And so, of course, very, very important. But if you dive into the menu itself, for one thing, you can access all of the flash type settings. And of course, you can remotely set those also if you're using the wireless. But if you're just wanting to use the flash and trigger it through some other means, you actually do have a flash port as well, just like a sync port if you're wanting to just sync it that way. And so you have the option of setting up all of your flash settings. It is HSS or high-speed sync compatible. And so you can actually, in the flash mode, you can actually go to as high a as high a shutter speed is 1/2000th of a second. And so, a lot of versatility with your syncing. And you can go down as low as 1/50th of a second for your sync speed range. Beyond that, however, there is some more video-specific modes that are really, pretty fantastic. And that is your various special effects type modes. And so, as a part of that, for example, you can go into I really like this effect. You can set up for like a fire, and so lighting like a flickering fire on a face. And so as you can see from this footage, it creates a really, really believable option for if you're shooting your video. If you're wanting to shoot some dramatic moments, say with lightning, you can trigger it in that kind of way. And of course, I like to move that to a cooler temperature, and so that it creates more of an effect. But as you can see, a believable lightning type effect. You can do police arrival, things like that. You can do just if you're wanting to simulate someone watching television or sitting and watching a screen, you can set it into that mode and have, again, a believable effect. And as you can see from these shots here, you can see what the light is actually doing and how it's, it's going through various color temperatures and various stages of brightness. And with any of those settings, and there are others of them as well that you can choose as a part of that, but with any of them, you actually have an option also of controlling the kind of the frequencies that it's at. So as low as 1,000 hertz up to 50,000 hertz as an option for that. And so it just gives you some control over the behavior of those various functionalities. What's also interesting is that if you're kind of struggling to know what the setting is for a certain lighting condition, what you can actually do is you can actually go into what they call FDIM mode, and so it allows you to select the ISO that you've got set, and then you can select also, you can choose between either the exposure, the shutter speed that you want to use, or you can select aperture, and either way it will set the corresponding. And then the third thing that you set there is the distance of the light, or it could be lights depending on if you're using more than one head. But if you're using the light, you can actually set the distance it is from the subject, and so thus you can control. And so for example, in some of these shots here, I've set the light fairly close, and so I'm wanting a more dramatic light to where the subject, myself in this case, is lit brightly, while the background is, and of course you can set those ratios depending on what kind of effect. You can also back up, as I did in this, a second shot, and what I did here is I wanted a more even illumination, and so I set the settings accordingly and from a further back distance, and so it's a more light, it's a bigger spread of light, more that's illuminated. And so just a lot of versatility in the way that you approach what you do. And so it's effective in strobe, it's effective in a continuous lighting. And the cool thing about lighting in a continuous way is that, for example, you can go from the still shot here to video and have obviously a perfect matching of your settings and your footage, and so that it all has a commonality of purpose. And so that gives you an idea of some of the capabilities of this. There's a lot of things that you can do with it. It's a very, very versatile light that can be used in a lot of different ways. And if you want to look more at the raw specifications, I'll throw a linkage to the Rotolight website, and so that you can look more at the specifications there. To sum things up, however, let's talk a little bit about price, and also about who this light is for and who it's not. So you might be able to determine whether or not it's for you when I talk about the price to begin with. This is a very high-end in terms of construction, in terms of functionality. It's also high-end when it comes to price. This light, without the battery, as noted, with it comes with the filters and the various wired ways to power it, but you're going to pay for that about $950 US. And of course, if you add in a battery pack like this, now of course you don't have to use the Rotolight battery pack, although I will throw linkage to the Rotolight battery pack. It's a really, really nice battery pack, which is part of the reason why it's worth looking at. And one thing I do like is that you can press a button on the side and you can see what its actual power, remaining power is. It also has a charge port on one side, and so it's a very easy battery to actually just go and charge. And of course, as noted, it has a lot of power output. But anyway, you're going to be looking at close to $300 in that range for a battery pack like that. And so yeah, it's an expensive light to be sure. Beyond that, however, you can actually get it in a 2-light kit. And so the 2-light kit comes with 2 of the heads. It comes with a very, very nice travel bag like this, for transporting all of it. It also comes with a couple of light stands, along with the ball head. And by the way, the original kit, even in a single head, it does come with this very nice ball head as well. And so, I mean, there is some nice things that are included, but it's pricey. And you're going to be looking at about $2,000 for the 2-light kit with some additional accessories, like this bag that alone retails for about $150. And so anyway, a lot of flexibility. And of course, if you're already into using like Elinchrom, you may be at an advantage because Skyport is built right into this. Now, as far as using the light itself and who it's for, If your intent is to, you're looking to like strobe big groups of people, I don't think that this is your best option. In terms of raw light output, there are a lot of smaller, cheaper, portable flashes that put out more in terms of raw volume. In the case of the AEOS, I look at it more as being about the quality of the light rather than the quantity of the light. I think that this is a much better light source if you're looking at lighting either small groups, couples, and in particular if you're shooting on location with individuals. It's powerful enough to, to be able to even out let's say a backlit subject by natural light and to front light them to give you a balanced result. But it wouldn't be strong enough to do a group like that. And so you kind of be reasonable about what it is that you want to do. But of course, where this light is most useful is if you're someone that is looking for a multi-purpose light that you can use in a variety of ways. And in particular, if you actually have the privilege of working with an assistant. I mean, the thing is with this handles, you could have a couple of these in a bag. You had a couple of assistants. They could hold the light exactly where you want it. So either if you're shooting video or if you're using the strobe effect, you can actually place the light perfectly. The other thing that's really nice about this light is the quality of the catch light in the eye with a big soft, and it's not blowing out skin tones. It's a more even source of light. So the quality of the light is really beautiful. And of course, the ability to actually control the temperature of the light is a big plus as well, because it gives you more flexibility in what you do with it. And of course, rather than using all kinds of gels, you can do a lot of that right in the light itself. And then of course, by using these inexpensive filters, you can also, tweak the light even more that way. So, a lot of good stuff coming there, but you need to determine whether or not it's the kind of light that you need. I hope that this has helped to nail down for you whether or not this Rotolight AEOS is the kind of lighting system for you. You can look in the description down below and you can find a linkage there to purchase links, more information if you want to follow up on that. And of course, as always, there's also linkage there if you'd like to follow me on social media, including now on Instagram. You can become a patron and get sneak previews of upcoming content and a chance to interact with me in advance about that content before the general public does. And of course, if you haven't already, please click that subscribe button. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.